First off, if you hear noises in the back, it's trying to storm, so maybe God is like, don't talk about that movie. But continuing with the Stallone Marathon, today we're going to talk about and review Rhinestone. Yeah, this is not a good film at all. The plot, real quick. So you have this big time country singer played by Dolly Parton in the film, and she bets that she could turn the next person she sees into a country singing star. And soon she recruits this New York City cab driver, Nick, played by Stallone in the film, who can't sing and has no talent whatsoever. And she trains him how to be more country and to become a country singing star. And that's the plot to the film here. Now, the film is directed by Bob Clark, who sadly has passed away. And he had directed A Christmas Story just a year before. And he also directed Porky's. I don't know why he was brought in to do this film here, and maybe I should have looked up more information about that. But this is definitely not Bob Clark's finest hour. The cast, Stallone throughout the film, it's a very silly role. Playing this New York City cab driver that's trying to become a country singer. Now, you can probably laugh at some of the stuff that Stallone does in the film. Like, when he goes out to the country and he's trying to become more country and walk a certain way, singing Old MacDonald and, the Drinkenstein scene. And, you can probably chuckle at some of that stuff. Stallone is making a fool out of himself here, throughout the film. So, yeah, it's a very silly role and quite embarrassing for Sly. Dolly Parton, I think she brings some charm to the film. And I think, Dolly and Sly's chemistry is somewhat sweet. And maybe I think that's helped more by Dolly Parton's personality. Her personality with, Stallone's character being kind of fish out of water. Their chemistry, is, somewhat sweet. But again, I think, Dolly Parton, she's fine here. Again, she brings a little bit of charm to the film. You also have Tim Thomerson in the film, and he's like, giving Sly's character a hard time. And, Tim Thomerson, he's from the Trancers films. And I kind of wish, I was watching this film here, and I kind of wish that, back in the day, Sly and Tim Thomerson, maybe they should have done a film together where Thomerson, was the villain, a bad guy playing opposite of Stallone. That would have been cool back in the day. But, he's in the film. You also have Richard Farnsworth, who I remember was in Misery. So, yeah, I would say the cast here, overall, I think Dolly Parton is fine, and she brings charm to the film. And meanwhile, Sly, it's not a good performance. It's a very silly performance. Stallone is making a fool out of himself. And maybe in a way you can say that Stallone is having a little bit of fun here. But, yeah, it's quite embarrassing, really. And the music in the film, I'm just not a fan of country music. And I think Stallone, his singing abilities makes it worse. It's funny, it says on the back here, when Dolly makes a deal with Stallone, country music takes a beating. And so does my ears, because, again, Stallone can't sing. We've heard how he sings before in that one film, Paradise Alley. And someone thought it was a good idea to have him, sing throughout the film here. And again, someone might say, well, you can probably laugh at some of the stuff here that Stallone does. And, like, there's this one scene early on in the beginning, like, in the first act of the film where, he lives, like, an apartment above a funeral parlor. and he's playing the organ, and the funeral is going on. I mean, I kind of chuckled at that, and I chuckled a little bit at the old McDonald's stuff, and the Drinkenstein scene. So maybe if this was like a straight up comedy, like if you took out the music aspect of it, and if it was just a straight up comedy where Stallone was trying to become more country, be more of like a fish out of water comedy, I think this would have been fine. But when you throw in country music and you have Stallone sing throughout the movie, again, it just makes it worse. And the pacing, it's a 2-hour film. It's an almost 2-hour film, and you definitely feel the pacing here of the film. A lot of the second act, it really slows down. And like I said earlier, I think that Sly and Dolly have somewhat sweet chemistry, but they can only carry the film so far because there's a lot of stuff in the middle that just really, there's not much going on or what have you. And yeah, I mean, and then towards the end of the film when, Stallone comes back to the city, and there's a scene where he's trying to get back to Dolly, and he rides on a horse through New York. And then there's a moment where him and Dolly are riding a horse through the city, and they get back to this club where, Stallone has to sing in front of a crowd, and they're going through different singers, and some of these singers aren't good, but for some reason, when Stallone takes the stage, he's this great singer. Like, people go from booing to cheering Sly. I'm like, how can you cheer, Stallone trying to sing country music? And he's wearing this crazy outfit. Even throughout the film, he's wearing these strange outfits, or just really weird apparel. I mean, look at that. What is that? Tell me, what is that outfit? But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I could say about this movie. It's not the worst comedy I've ever seen. It's just a very silly, embarrassing film for Sly. And, Dolly Parton, she's trying. Dolly Parton's fine in the film for what she has. And I think at times, again, like I said, I think her and Sly have, a decent chemistry. It's a little sweet. But when you go into a lot of the scenes where, Stallone is singing, and a lot of that stuff is just not good. So, yeah. And, the supporting cast, while it's cool to see Tim Thomerson in there, and, Richard Farnsworth, there's not much to their characters. So, yeah, I mean, I think I've covered, some stuff here, quite a bit. So with all that being said, let me get to my final thoughts on Rhinestone. Dolly Parton brings some charm to this, while Stallone's performance throughout is embarrassing. Together, their chemistry is somewhat sweet, which I think is helped more by Dolly Parton's personality. There's some chuckles here and there in certain moments, but I can't defend this movie, especially in scenes where Stallone is doing his country music act will make you cringe. This one you can skip. And those are my overall thoughts on Rhinestone. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Rhinestone a 4 out of 10. So, yeah, that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you around.